Good morning, good evening. Gonna do Holy Wisdom, Holy Word. Gonna light our candle. It's a red candle today. You know, it was the feast day of Mary Magdalene this week. She was an amazing seer, the feminine of the Christian tradition, the deep holder of the dark. And I think it's appropriate to look at the dark and the light today within us because we hold it, we bring it forward. So as I read through a couple of things, let's see what comes. Holy Wisdom, Holy Word. And I love, as you know, the word that we each need is love. We each need love. And as I went through my own dark this week, as I moved through some of my own layers, I'm lighting some sage. I've been saging my home, saging myself. This is a native type way. In the church, there's many incenses. I use sage to most of the time when I'm feeling like, it's just important to just bless the space. They say the smoke goes to heaven. And we say our prayers in the middle of sage. Can't get the candle to sit here tight, so bear with me. There we go. But, the smoke goes to heaven and we say our prayers and we say the gifts of the Holy Spirit, I would say. Holy Wisdom, Holy Word. I'm a theologian and I started this path many years ago. My name's Lynn Chittick, if you haven't seen me. I've been working in my 20s in Rudolf Steiner's work, anthroposophy, which I went through a very dark time in my 20s. In my 30s, I went through a healing process and I went through the Buddhist tradition, the Shingon tradition, and I was given a dojo at 35, spiritual center. I went on to not take that, but I moved into a lot of different works. I did a lot of healing work for many people with natural foods and organic food movement. And through my 30s, 40s, and 50s, that's what I did. Almost 30 years. It was 30 plus years, actually. And the organic food movement and understanding food and health was key for the spiritual condition that we each find ourselves in. But then there's the ancestry. And I'm going to talk a little bit about ancestry today, about light and dark within us, because our ancestors carried trauma and we carry trauma from our ancestry. And there's some good books that I'll try to put on my website. On my page, my Facebook pages today. As you look at Holy Wisdom, Holy Word, today I pulled out these books. I go to my closet and I have all these wonderful books, and I'm so grateful, eternally grateful for the Spirit to give me all the gifts. I'll read, I think I'm going to read out of The Courage to Change to start off. Today is the 26th of July, 2020. I'm learning to identify illusions that make my life unmanageable. For example, I wanted to stop controlling people and situations, but the harder I tried, the more I felt as if I was knocking my head against the wall. Then something mentioned that I couldn't give up something I didn't have. Perhaps I could try giving up the illusion of control. Once I saw that my attempts to exercise power were based on illusions, it was easier to let go and let God. Another illusion is that I have a big hole inside and I must fill it with something from outside myself. Compulsive shopping, obsessing about relationships, trying to fix everyone else's problems. These are some of the ways I tried to fill this hole. Yet the problem is a spiritual emptiness and must be filled from within. It wasn't until I saw through the illusion that I was deficient and needed to look outside myself for wholeness that I began to heal. Today, if I hear myself thinking that I am not good enough or that I need something outside myself to make me whole, I know that I am listening to illusions. Today, I can call a friend and come back to reality. William James said, human beings, by changing the inner attitudes of their minds, can change the outer aspects of their lives. Aho, isn't that true? That comes from a book, Courage to Change, recovery work I've been in for 23 years. I'm always grateful to hear that message and hear that witness when I need to return to this inner light that the outside does not give me anything to fill up the hole in my heart. Our hole in the heart sometimes stirs in us and we can't quite grasp what's there. I grew up with 2 alcoholic parents, and that hole is deep, and I love them dearly, and I love their hearts dearly. And as they are in the heavens, I love you, my parents. They were beautiful people in a world of, light and dark, just like we are. We're in the indecisions of light and dark now as we go through COVID. So I like to come out with this little page once in a while, Holy Wisdom, Holy Word, to just read some of the things that have helped me, supported me. And one of them is this idea of giving thanks, a Native American good morning message. So we're going to do a little storytelling, a bedtime story if you're in Pakistan or in the East. But it's morning here. It's a morning story for me. It's a good morning message. It was given to my daughter by Chief Jake Swamp. He said, I hope you will have a great future. I have to give this book to her as she leaves my home next week. So it's a good thing that I pulled it out and I didn't even know. To be human is an honor, and we offer thanksgiving for all the gifts of life. Mother Earth, we thank you for giving us everything we need. And in the tradition of the Mayan calendar yesterday, the beautiful corn is here. And the beautiful sunrise, sunset, no matter where you are. Thank you, deep blue waters around Mother Earth, for you are the force that takes thirst away from all living beings. We give thanks to the green grasses that feel so good against our bare feet, for the cool beauty you bring to Mother Earth's floor. This book was given at the naming ceremony of my daughter. Her name means light. Thank you, good foods from Mother Earth, our life sustainers, for making us happy when we are hungry. And there's the corn again. Quasquimque is my native name. It means corn woman. I dove in with my brothers and sisters yesterday, a little deeper on that. Fruits and berries, we thank you for your color and sweetness. We are all thankful to the good medicine herbs for healing us when we are sick. And food is medicine. I've been teaching about food for many, many years. And food is medicine. And all the colors of the food, they're reminding us all the colors, the yellows of the corn, the red of the cherries, the beautiful green grasses, the blues of the water, and all the flowers, the blackberries, the purple. We have all the colors of the rainbow around us. May we enjoy it. I'm reading out of this book this morning, and we're on our few pages in. It's about giving thanks. Holy wisdom, holy word. Oh, let's see. It's so hard to bring the pages up. Sorry. Thank you, all the animals in the world, for keeping our precious forests clean. All the trees in the world, we are thankful. There's the moose. The moose is the feminine. The moose is the ancient one that carries the feminine. And my mother had moose medicine, and she always had the moose coming to her, even a few feet away. I love you, Mom, in this beautiful world of love. Thank you for appearing this day, Moose. Holy wisdom, holy word comes right to me this day from my mama. The shade and warmth you give us. Thank you, all the birds in the world, for singing your beautiful songs for all to enjoy. Oh, the birds are amazing, aren't they? The singing of the birds, the beautiful, the shadows of the birds in the skies and the ground, and the hummingbird comes to me often. I'm so grateful for the hummingbird. I'm so grateful. We give thanks to your gentle four winds. And the winds come and they blow, and the etheric world is upon us. And the beautiful wind for bringing clean air to us, for us to breathe from all four directions. I'm reading out of a book, Giving Thanks, a Native American Good Morning Message. So it's morning here, and I'm giving this little message because this is a book that I'll hand to my daughter. She was given during her naming ceremony when she was just born. Maybe she was about 6 months old. And her brothers and sisters were there. And Chief Jake gave this to her. For bringing clean air, the four directions we call in, the east, the west, the north, and the south, into this holy wisdom, holy word moment. We bring and give thanks to Grandfather Thunder beings. And there's the hummingbird, right? There's the hummingbird and Grandfather Thunder. The thunder is so powerful, and it shakes us to our bones, and it's carried in our DNA. The thunder and lightning strike, and they internalize our thoughts. They internalize our amazing gifts. And there's the hummingbird that shows up in holy wisdom, holy word. Here we are for bringing rains to help all living beings grow. I know in Guatemala right now it's raining a lot, and I just posted thunder and lightning. Here's the thunder and lightning, the pounding, the sparks, the stretching of our amazing earth that gives us the thunder and the lightning that strikes and changes us. I have many stories about thunder and lightning. Elder brother, sun, we send thanks for shining. And today it's sunny in California. I'll show you the sunshine outside my door, the beautiful green trees that are blowing. These winds are coming all the way through the oceans. I'm about 45 minutes from the ocean. My son right now is just starting to get a hurricane in Hawaii, so I've been praying. And he said the sun was shining there right now when I just called. So I'm grateful that elder brother sun is watching over underneath once the clouds come and the rains come for the hurricane in Hawaii, and that all people stay safe. I give thanks for holy, holy, holy wisdom, holy word, your light and warming Mother Earth. The sun warms us and nourishes us. The fires warm us and nourish us. You know, the warmth is the torch. You know, the torch is the light that we carry. Thank you, Grandmother Moon, for growing full every month. And the moon carries us by the dark, the light and the dark. Here we go. I knew this session was called Light and Dark, and here we are, the dark night with the light. Thank you, Grandmother Moon. I'm not sure where she's waning. I think she's bringing ourselves to the fullness. There she is. To the light, to light the darkness for children and sparkling waters. Oh, isn't it true? When you're near the waters and the moon is glistening over the waters, isn't it true that they bring us this amazing bounty? Holy wisdom, holy word. Woo! Loving it. We give thanks for the twinkling stars, for making night sky so beautiful. There's the corn again, the beautiful corn. I hope children may watch this. We give thanks for those twinkling stars and for the sprinkling morning dewdrops on the plants. And they are so lovely, isn't it? In the morning, in the May day, we always got up and, you know, put the dew on our face once a year to bring the spring, the essence of the holiness of the morning dew early in the springtime. It keeps you young forever, they say. The morning dew. Spirit protectors of our past and present, we thank you for showing us ways to live in peace and harmony with one another. Oh, our ancestors, as we call them forward, those that have passed among us, may we pray for our grandmothers, grandfathers, great-grandmothers, great-grandfathers, and all the way back 7 generations. May we pray that their healing of love and light I send to them this day. And for this, I'm going to send the candle to the ancestors because that's kind of my talk today. It's about the light and the dark within the ancestors. I think it's hard to see the candle here, but there you go. Now you can see the candle. I'm sending the light to the ancestors that bring us here today. Our ancestors have brought us forward. They brought us all the way through from the dark of the womb to the light, from the dark of all that was given to the light. This candle is a little wobbly, so it takes a minute to put it back. Hang on. There we are. No, it's not quite going. There we go. And most of us thank you, Great Spirit, for giving us all the wonderful gifts. So we will be happy and healthy, even every day and even night. Even day, even night. The Great Spirit for giving us all the wonderful gifts so we may be happy and healthy every day and every night. So that's Holy Wisdom, Holy Word out of this beautiful book that was given. And here's the message from Chief Jake. Chief Jake gave it to my daughter, Oriah. I hope you will have a great future. And this was when she was 6 months old. So as she leaves the home this week, it's very unique that I pulled this book out. I've got a couple of books that will travel with her, hopefully, and she'll remember that giving thanks is the most important thing. So when we think about light and dark, when we think about going into that womb, that fluid place I've had to go really deep and dark this week. I've had to go deep into my own darkness and my own pain and my own struggle. And wherever that took me, it wasn't easy. And I pulled out this book, The Golden Bough. And as I opened it, here it was, the birth of one of my grandchildren that was born in my house, a letter to him. So I thought I would read that and not read out of the Golden Bough, but read the letter that I put here. The golden bough upon the bosom of wisdom, I wrote. This was 11/22/13. My grandson, Alder Lou, was born. Welcome to new beginnings. Yes, a son born to Andrew and Brianna Hathaway, 11/20/13, 12 p.m., 8 pounds, 4 ounces, 20.5 inches. Such a sweetness. The 5 soil boy. Yes, your grandmom writes to you this day. Yes, your grandmom is a 5 soil. It will be a full life with this, you, the center of attention. Yes, I believe, the believer of a very strong and sturdy walk you will walk. All will wonder about your deep strength within. I called you Jacob yesterday, as I think you will have many offspring. Your mom and dad are wonderful, whichever course life will bring them. Abide faithful to the ancestry. The Chittick blood deeply carries you and welcomes you to us on 19 Acacia Road, Fairfax, California. This is a letter to my grandson. And when I pulled out the golden bough, it was the day he was born. And this was the Holy Wisdom, Holy Word. And here's this letter to my grandson. Holy Wisdom, Holy Word, right? So I don't know if any of you know the Golden Bough. It was a very powerful book for me and a very powerful messaging. It one of the writings in here is about the oak tree and how a baby seed of an oak tree. When I got this book, I was taking care of an amazing person, and I was a caregiver. And I lived with Dorothy and Bill Humphrey right after my divorce. And my children and I went between their father's house and my house. And this was a significant book because the oak story in this book was very powerful for me. I needed that to be held up. And it was a powerful book to be able to hold me through that very challenging time. And the Golden Bough reminds us that the spirit of change, the spirit of light, the spirit of the dark, the light and the dark, it comes to us. And it's not something to be afraid of. Thank you, Fatima. Fatima says the letter is amazing. Thank you. Yeah, he's a beautiful, he's now 6 years old. Yes. And he's very, very, he's going to be a creative soul. He'll be a creative soul. So as you write these type letters, there's another letter in here, and I don't know what it's about. It's a very nice letter. I think I'll read it to you. This was on 11/9. This was about a week before he was born. It says, it's my time, it's my gifts to reclaim. My light, Lord, abide in me, abide in my children, abide throughout the body. Help me restore to embody the light. Help me to do the gifts I have come to give. Help all mothers going through domestic violence. Support all mothers to embody the blessings of who they are. Create the surrounding of my beautiful daughter and husband as they open to the full gifts of birth and passage, of new breath of my sweet child. May I know that I can be happy. May I know that my family can be happy. May the ephemeral gifts abide in all, appear, disappear over and over in life. This is the power of the light and dark. So this is great that this was in the book of the Golden Bough. The Golden Bough. So I think we're supposed to read out of the Golden Bough. So let me see where there's a story. It's quite a mystical book. It's quite about the mystery. Let me see if I can find the mystery in the Golden Bough is very powerful. It talks about Diana and the goddess of fertility. Talks about Numa. It talks about the king is Jupiter. The taboos, the soul of mannequin, the perils of the soul. That might be good. Absence and recall of the soul as a shadow and a reflection, 220. The soul as a shadow and reflection. There we go. That's the one we're to read. So let's read that one. But the spiritual dangers I have enumerated are not only ones with beset the savage. Often he regards his shadow or reflection as his soul, or at all events as a vital part of himself, herself. And as such, it is necessarily a source of danger to him, for it is trampled upon, struck upon, stabbed. He will feel the injury as if it were done to his person, and if it was detached from him entirely, as he believes that it may be, he will die. In the island of Witter, where the magicians who can make a man ill by stabbing his shadow with a pike or hacking it at the sword, the Sankara had destroyed the Buddhists in India. It is said that he journeyed to Nepal, where he had some difference of opinion with the Grand Lama. To prove his supernatural powers, he soared into the air. But as he mounted by the Grand Lama, perceiving his shadow swaying and wavering on the ground, struck his knife into it, and down fell Sankara and broke his neck. In the banks of the islands, my daughter has her outfit on. I'm laughing at my beautiful daughter, Oriah. She's got her new bathing suit on as she goes to Hawaii next week. She's got her glasses and her cap. Oh, she's lovely. My holy wisdom, holy word is my beautiful being. So I'm reading out of this book, Golden Bough, and it's talking about the perils of the soul. In the Banks Islands, there are some stones of remarkably long shape, which go by the name of eating ghosts, because certain powerful and dangerous ghosts are believed to lodge in them. If a man's shadow falls on one of these stones, the ghost will draw his soul out of him, so that he will die. Such stones, therefore, are set in a house to guard it, and a messenger sent to a house by this absent owner will call out the name of the sender, lest the watchful ghost in the stone would fancy that he came with evil intent and should do him a mischief. At a funeral in China, when the lid is about to be placed on the coffin, most of the bystanders, with the exception of the nearest kin, retire a few steps or even retreat to another room, for a person's health is believed to be endangered by allowing his shadow to be enclosed in a coffin. And when the coffin is about to be lowered to the ground, most of the spectators recoil in a little distance, lest their shadows shall fall into the grave, and harm should thus be done to their persons. The geomancer and his assistants stand on the side of the grave, which is turned away from the sun, and the grave diggers and coffin bearers attach their shadows firmly to their persons by tying a strip of cloth tightly around their waists. Nor is it human beings alone who are thus liable to be injured by means of their shadows. Animals are to be the extent in the same predicament. A small snail, which frequents the neighborhood by the limestone hills in Perak, is believed to suck the blood of cattle through their shadows. Hence the beasts grow lean and sometimes die from the loss of blood. The ancients supposed that in Arabia, if a hyena trod on a man's shadow, it deprived him of the power of speech and motion, and that if a dog standing on the roof in the moonlight cast a shadow on the ground and a hyena trod on it, the dog would fall down as it was dragged from a rope. Clearly, in this cases of shadow, if not equivalent to the soul, is at least regarded a living part of the man or the animal, so that injury done to the shadow is felt by the person or animal as if it were done to his body. So there is a story about the shadow of the dark and the mystery of, some of the ancient myths of China and, all the different places. The shadow is big. And when we feel that darkness within us, when we feel something that comes over us and we can't get it out, we need practitioners to help each other bring that darkness back to its right corner. Very rare will I find it. Very rare will I stand in that shadow. Very rare. But I send light to that shadow of all people going through that. There's a lot going on in the planet right now. There's a lot going on for all of us. There's a lot of death, and a lot of that death is bringing shadow upon us. So hold the light steady and remember to return and get help if you need, because the light and the dark are real within us, and it's all around us. And it's not that the dark is bad. The dark and light is within us. We come from the womb, we return. We come from the light, we return to the light. We come from the dark, we return to the dark. There's that preciousness of understanding. And if you weren't on earlier, I wrote giving thanks, and these are all the places, that I read. So go back if you just came on to read that about those places. I pulled out another book, which I did a lot of when my children were young, because some of my darkness was around my own family and my own kids and my own understanding of the shadows that have touched our lives and the shadows that touched my children's lives, and that we hold in our DNA, and we will release, and I release to the light this day. So I send light to all mothers, children, fathers that have touched the darkness within your families, within your ancestors. The ancestor energy comes from the old to this moment. And the trauma from our ancestry is held in our DNA. It's held in the spiritual realms of each of us. And you have to remember, it's not a bad thing to go through the dark night of the soul. The soul brings shadow at times, and that's the time to go deeper into the witness of the love. And God is good. God is good. I am deeply study about Jesus and the ancestors around Jesus. And the storytelling in the biblical text is a powerful storytelling about that shadow and the dark. The shadow and the dark are real within all ancestry. And this is a time with COVID that the dark is the most close to all of us. And as we bring the light and dark together in this time of prayer and, deep witness to love, deep witness to kindness, deep witness to compassion, when any one of us goes through the shadow, stand beside them, be with them, say prayers, light candles, send them good wishes. Just continue to show them how much they're loved. But one of the books I always read were the fairy tales, and I have many different types of fairy tales in my cupboard. I've given a lot to my one daughter. Oh gosh, here is another book. I like to think you're in the country settling. Nature gives us lots of nourishment. I gather you into gardening in the occupation as a hobby. We hated giving up our garden. So many of the plants were from friends and families, especially from Mother and Susie. Love the little organic birds. Origami, I think it's organic. And feed them as little monstrance. This is from a woman that sent a little card, and it's not anybody I know, but I got these probably as a used set. And look at the back of the book. The Grimm's fairy tales were very powerful to read to children. I'm coming to the turnip. Let's see how long it is. So it's pretty short. We can read one. There were once two brothers who were served as soldiers, and one was rich and the other was poor. The poor one, wishing to better himself, discarded his uniform and worked like a peasant. He dug and hoed his little field and sowed turnips. The seed came up, and one of the turnips grew to such an enormous size that it seemed as though it would never stop growing. It might have been called the queen of all turnips, for its like had never been seen before, nor ever will it be seen again. At last it was so big that it filled a cart and needed 2 oxen to draw it. The peasant could not imagine what would come of it, whether it would bring good luck or bad. At last he said to himself, if I sell it, what shall I gain? I might eat it, like the little turnips would do as well for that. The best thing will be to take it to the king and offer it to him. So he loaded a cart and harnessed 2 oxen and took it to the court to present it to the king. What is this extraordinary object? Asked the king. I have seen many marvels in my time, but never anything so remarkable as this. What seed did it spring from? Perhaps it belongs to you, especially if you are a child of good luck. Oh no, said the peasant. Luckily, I'm certainly am not, for I am a poor soldier. Since he could keep himself no longer, hung up his uniform on a nail and tills, and I till the earth. I have a brother who is rich and well known to you, my lord king, but I, because I have nothing, am forgotten by all the world. The king pitied him and said, your poverty shall be at an end, and you shall receive such rich presents from me that your wealth will equal that of your brother. Thereupon he gave him plenty of gold, lands, fields, flocks, and enriched him with precious stones, so that the other brother's wealth could not be compared with his. Now when the rich brother heard what his brother with the single turnip had acquired, he envied him and pondered how he might gain a little treasure for himself. But he wanted to show himself much cleverer, as he took gold and horses and presented them to the king, feeling certain that he would give him a far handsomer gift. For if his brother got so much for a turnip, what would not he get for his beautiful things? The king took the present, saying that he would give him in return nothing rarer or better than the huge turnip. So the richer brother had to put his brother's turnip into a cart and have it taken home. Then he did not know on whom to expect his wrath and bitterness, till evil thoughts came to him, and he determined to kill his brother. He hired murderers who were to place themselves in ambush. And then he went to his brother and said, dear brother, I know of a secret treasure, which we will carry off and divide. The other agreed and went without suspicion. But when they reached the ambush, the murderers sprang upon him, bound him, and prepared to hang him on a tree. While they were about it, they heard in the distance the clatter of hooves and the sound of singing that frightened them so much that they stuck their prisoner head foremost into a sack, slung it on a branch, and took to flight. But the man up in the sack worked a hole in it and stuck his head through. Now the traveler turned out to be nothing more than a student, a young fellow who was riding through the wood singing cheerily. When a man up in a sack saw something down below, he called out, good day, you come in the nick of time. The student looked all around, but could not make out where the voice came from. At last he said, who calls? A voice above answered, raise your eyes, I am sitting up here in the sack of wisdom, and in a short time I have learned so much that wisdom of the schools is an air compared to mine. Soon I shall be quite perfect and shall come down and be the wisest of all mankind. I understand the stars and signs of heaven and blowing of the winds and the sand and the sea and the healing of the sickness and the power of the herbs and the birds and the stones. If you were once inside, you would feel that wonders flow from the sack of knowledge. When the student heard this, he was astonished and said, "Blessed be the hour that I met you. If only I, too, might get into that sack for a little." The other answered as though unwillingly, "I will let you in for a little while, for payment and kind words, but you must wait an hour, as there is something rather difficult, which I must learn first." But then, when the student had waited a little, he grew impatient and entreated permission to get in. So great was his thirst for knowledge. When the man in the sack pretended to give in and said, "In order that I might get out of the sack, you must let it down, then you can get in." So the student let it down, undid the sack, and released the prisoner and said, "Now pull me up as fast as you can, as possible." And he tried to get into the sack and stand upright in it. "Stop," said the other, "that won't do." He packed him in head first, tied it up, slung up the disciples of wisdom, dangling him in the air. Then he said, "How are you, my dear fellow? You will soon feel wisdom coming upon you, and will have a most interesting experience. Sit still till you are wiser." Thereupon he mounted the student's horse and rode off, but sent someone in an hour to let him down again. That's the story in Grimm's fairy tale about the turnip. That's a great, great story for me. That's a great story of me. Wow, this is very cool. This is very cool. 239. I'm not going to tell you too much right now, but I'm going to read 239. I wonder what that's about. Very interesting. That's cute. These came also for Oriah. So those are going to go. Very cool. Awesome. So as you bring in Holy Wisdom, Holy Word, the story of the turnip, the story of envy, the story of, the feeling of the poor and the rich. This is the same idea of dark and light. We walk these places and we think something else is better. And, God gives us this bountiful turnip every day. And we don't see it. We don't see it. We only see other. And when you go through a deeper shadow within your own self, that layer and layer, they say the layer of the onion, you've all heard this, but these deeper inner inklings come. And I am so eternally grateful that the books before me, the books that are given, the books that I pulled out today are just so profound. So I'm going to leave you with all of that. And I'm going to go and read my book, Bede Griffith. And the book's name is Beyond the Darkness. And Bede went through a lot. He grew up in a family, and he went through a lot as a child. And, it's interesting, just a little bit of story I've already been reading. Thank you. I will pray for you, Kavi. Hi, Pravin. Hi, Imran Khan. Nice to see you all. Thanks for joining me on Holy Wisdom, Holy Word. I wrote about dark and light today. I read from books of giving thanks in the native tradition, so go back and listen if you just came on. I read from the book of Golden Bough, and I found 2 letters that were worn. I put these in. James Fraser was a powerful man. I don't know a ton about him, but let's read. 3 distinguished leaders in American life were asked to choose the 25 most important books published in 1885. The 3 men were John Dewey, Professor Emeritus of Philosophy at Columbia University, the late Charles Beard, noted for the historian, and Edward Weeks, editor of the Atlantic Monthly. Their lists differed widely, but of 4 books, all of these judges agreed that The Golden Bough was one of the 4. In this 1-volume edition of The Golden Bough, the late Sir James Fraser himself expertly compressed the wealth of invaluable material contained in the original 12-volume edition. It is the absorbing account of the use and development of magic, customs, social practices, religious among the primitive men and women. It is based upon the author's personal research during many years of exploration in the farthest and most secure corners of the world. Here is no other book you can ever trace the gradual evolution of human thought from savagery to civilization. So, The Golden Bough, I highly recommend it. I got it in my 20s. It's a powerful book. It's worth finding and reading the stories. It's great to work out of myths. And, you know, the myths and the fairy tales, Rudolf Steiner always said that it gives us, and the children, if you read fairy tales to your children, it gives them kind of like a moment of questioning. You know, Grimm's fairy tales were very powerful. And so this series of Grimm's fairy tales is very important. So I hope you'll read out of Grimm's. And then I read out of The Courage to Change, that message today that was so good about illusions. So that's today's Holy Wisdom, Holy Word. Our readings for today. Thank you. It was about dark and light. And I'll leave you with this. When you look at bringing yourself forward into the places of that dark night of the soul, they say, remember that the shadow may have been fallen about you. There may have been people greedy and followed into your soul and tried to take it. There may have been thoughts from so many people that they went so deep in that it couldn't get pulled out. There may have been ancestry moments in history that you have to pull apart. Our ancestors have gone through so much on this amazing planet. And if we don't stand in the holy wisdom, holy word, in the mysteries of the ancient books, the ancient wisdoms, the ancient loves of so many people, then, you know, we don't really hear the written word in the way that it can heal our soul. So today, pull out something precious and stay with it. Pull out something good. I'm excited to go read more. This is my Sunday day. I've got a meeting in an hour, but beyond the darkness for the next hour is my moment with Father Bede. The gift is that my professor at the Franciscan school said that was her summer reading. She was a professor. I didn't take a class, but I totally honored her. And Darlene Prides is her name, an amazing professor through the Franciscan tradition. She's a very big scholar in the mystery of, you know, what it takes to be out in the streets, to reclaim the wisdom, to reclaim the voice of ourselves. She's really great. And she wrote about some of those early Franciscan women that touched that part. And so she was saying this was her summer reading, and I was like, oh my gosh. I stayed at Father Bede's place called the Forest of Peace, and it's in Sand Springs, Oklahoma, and I did a 40-day silent retreat, and it was so great because I needed to return to that this summer. I needed to return to those days that when I was in that moment of time. And the thunder and lightning actually was powerful. So as I sparked this day and all the mystery that came just in this little hour together, this is the mystery of our lives. Holy wisdom, holy word. Bring it forward, bring it forth, and be who you are to be. Blessed be. Love you. Peace and best.